Mark Hamrick joins us now. He is the Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst for Bankrate.com. Mark, welcome. So the report says the economy has held up better than expected this year, but momentum seems to be slowing. Your reaction, Mark, and what do you think is driving this shift?
Good to be with you, Jenna. I think we do need to differentiate between the U.S. economy and the global economy, the U.S. being the supertanker of economies around the world. Harder to steer, harder to stop, harder to get going if it slows. And, you and I have been talking about tariffs since April when we had that post-April Fool's Day announcement. And, we've broadly been talking about the risks associated with tariffs, which, easily defined is slower economic growth and higher inflation. And, we have the OECD, which is a credible global body, identifying those risks with an updated sense of urgency, if you want to put it that way. But it's not really news. And I do think we have to acknowledge that we've been really talking about the potential for an economic slowdown, whether it was because of elevated interest rates before this year or tariffs in the second quarter of this year, which largely has not substantially materialized. And there are all kinds of forecasts out there about the way that growth might look both for the U.S. and the world next year. And what I would say is the Federal Reserve has basically recently very slightly upgraded the outlook for growth, very slightly, but still either at the long-term trend or slightly below it, and that is far from a recession. And I would say there are implications for historically high tariffs, the most since the Great Depression, for all the other countries of the world, many of which don't have the resources or the resilience or the strength that the United States possesses.
So the report also suggests the Fed may cut interest rates again soon as the economy softens. Do you think that's the right move, Mark? And how much room does the Fed really have to act right now?
It's too early to say, Jenna, and that's why Federal Reserve officials aren't going to say that they're ready to cut rates further. They just did the most modest of rate cuts, 0.25%, and collectively they forecast the possibility of two more rate cuts this year and some more going forward. But I would urge members of the audience, the people kindly watching today, not to be so enamored of whether there are rate cuts coming or not, because there's a high degree of uncertainty with that. If there is a substantial flaring up of inflation, that's going to put more pressure on the Fed not to cut rates as aggressively. On the other side of that is if we see further weakening in the job market, as we've already seen, that creates more urgency. So there is a risk of a slowdown, as there always is, but I would also say recently the risks of recession have been seen as somewhat receding or going down, but probably still somewhat historically elevated.
Yeah, just about 30 seconds left, Mark, but what's your best advice for people at home who are trying to protect their money?
Continue to stick with your long-term game plan, and that should include saving for emergencies. You need to save for retirement. A majority of Americans say they're behind where they need to be with their retirement savings. That's a new survey we published at Bankrate.com today. Pay down high-cost debt. Credit cards at the top of the list. The average for new credit card offers for the best qualified users, people with superior credit scores, still 20% and above. So those are three things you can do every day and right away.
Okay, Mark Hamrick with Bankrate. Mark, thank you.